memang
It was my turn to escort the guest.
nomor saya untuk mengantar
There were 5 university students.
5 mahasiswa.
We went to the attic.
Ruang etik.
When I looked down, the feet weren't touching the floor.
I love stories like this. Ghost stories.
A lot of torture places, a lot of people die there.
We heard a voice.
About places we're not supposed to go. We're warned not to go. But I'm no ghost hunter. The fear, the superstition, always hides a bigger story. A true story. What really happened here? And if you knew, would you still go there? Indonesia has more than 17,000 islands. And people who have strong beliefs in gods, ghosts, and devils. In its cities and villages, the magical, the mystical, the terrifying. Publicity about hauntings is commonplace. Shaman known as Dukun become major celebrities. For many, the paranormal is one more aspect of daily life. Indonesia's president has even spoken out about those who believe in black magic.
Ini musim pemilu, musim pemilihan presiden dan wakil presiden. Ini banyak yang menggunakan ilmu sihir. Betul, saya merasakan dengan keluarga. Luar biasa. Ya, iya, macam-macam yang digunakan.
I believe that what's called a haunted place often hides a historical truth waiting to be uncovered. I came to investigate one particular building here, believed by many to contain an unusual amount of paranormal activity.
Saya mulai bekerja sebagai
I started working as a tour guide at Lawang Sewu in 2007.
tempat saya bekerja.
Lawang Sewu is an old building,
Gedung yang tua.
believed to be a haunted building with many ghosts inside. It was night, around 11 p.m.
Jam 11.
I was escorting 5 university students.
Mereka foto.
They took photographs, asked me about hauntings here.
Meskipun jam
My answer was always, I hadn't seen such things.
lihat. Saya akan
I took them to the stairs.
tangga. Mereka
They went up to the second floor to the dark corridor.
di lorong yang gelap sekali.
They started to shoot and asked me to move away.
Kemudian kita
Then we started to climb the stairs to the attic.
mereka melihat
They were looking around. I moved to the right side of the attic.
ruang etik sebelah kanan.
Without realizing that they didn't follow me.
Putih.
Suddenly, I felt something pass by the edge of the stairs.
lewat dari tangga.
I noticed there was a lady walking towards me. It must have been one of the guests.
Jalan-jalan.
I thought to myself, why isn't the guide leading the guest?
Kenapa tamunya yang di depan, bukan guide-nya?
I went blank. Suddenly, my body felt very cold.
Dingin sekali. Tapi pikiran
I couldn't think at that time.
apa-apa, hanya
I could only see the long hair and the face, torn full of blood.
yang berdarah-darah, mungkin seperti tercapik-capik mukanya. Dia
She
jalan,
came closer and closer. I looked at the floor and found that her feet weren't touching the floor.
tidak menginjak lantai.
That's when I realized that this is a ghost. I was very scared. I'm actually not a brave person.
Berani, jadi saya
I was born in Java, so I understand Javanese culture.
Jawa bahwa menurut kepercayaan orang Jawa,
And based on Javanese beliefs, there are lots of spirits in Lawang Sewu because of its past.
Lawang Sewu menyerupai wujud dari kejadian di masa lalu.
I don't believe in ghosts. But my question was, could something real have happened here at Lawang Sewu to give rise to all these haunting stories? To find out, I would have to dig into the building's past. What was it for? Did anyone live here?
I came to Semarang because of all the stories here, and a lot of them center around this place called Lawang Sewu. Now, the name translates in Javanese to 1,000 doors, and the stories are as evocative. The real question is, what is it about this building and what's hidden in its history that so many stories would come from one place? And that's what I'm going to find out.
Central Java's capital, Semarang. A sprawling port city with origins dating back more than 1,000 years. And Lawang Sewu, the building filled with storied phantoms, was right in the heart of Semarang. Indonesia, the world's largest Muslim population. But just below that surface were ancient currents of animism and magic. It seems those currents ran strong in Semarang, and I sought them out in the city's alleys and side streets. To get a glimpse of the Javanese supernatural, I found a psychic painter, Andreas, who drew and painted his vision of Indonesian gods and devils on any canvas that seemed available.
Ini ada di sini nih ya. Ya. Ini. Yang ini yang wanita. Ini rumahnya di Bukit Gumbel sana, jalan sana. WW-nya di sini. Please use it.
Here?
Ini, sini. Iya. Please you. Ini.
I do understand there's a lot of belief in spirits in Indonesia. Like, what are some common beliefs?
Satu, arwah, roh. Itu orang yang pernah hidup, manusia pernah hidup, mati. Dua, siluman, dia studi hitam. Kalau mati, dia akan menjadi siluman. Snake, ini animal, ini manusia. Nomor 3, itu namanya WW.
The naked women.
Ya, ini WW, ya woman.
With the...
Ini tingkat.
So do most Indonesian people believe the same things you believe?
Semuanya. Jadi dulu animisme, anutan animisme.
Why are there so many stories about Lawang Sewu?
Memang di sana ada 41 hantu.
Why are they drawn to Lawang Sewu?
Dia merasa di situ itu nyaman, tenang, dan tidak terusik.
Legend from Lawang Sewu. You can see here Lawang Sewu, and there's a wide array of spirits that the Indonesians believe in. Why they're there, and why specifically they believe in such a wide and variety of spirits, I don't know. But hopefully I'll learn that as we go along.
Andreas said the Lawang Sewu ghosts were peaceful, undisturbed. But Bernard's specter, a torn face streaked with blood, hardly a ghost of peace.
Just to give you a general sense of how prevalent superstitious beliefs are here, I went to a bookstore, one bookstore, and already got several magazines completely dedicated to ghost stories and tales of the supernatural. If you flip through these magazines, the imagery is kind of hilarious, actually, but you can get demons here, women's spirits, wet hair dangling in the face, and my favorite part, advertising, where you can dial your favorite black magic practitioner. Just the fact that I was able to get this in like less than an hour from one bookstore should give you an idea of just how prevalent this type of information and belief is.
Pop culture gave a clue as to why there were so many ghost stories linked to a historical building like Lawang Sewu. For many Indonesians, ghosts were everywhere. They provided entertainment and theater. This old building was the perfect stage. So widespread were rumored hauntings in Lawang Sewu that a local reality show investigated its infamous basement.
Lampunya padam, habis itu yang terakhir yaitu rambutnya gondrong, pakai baju putih, panjang, mukanya tapi nggak begitu jelas. Saya takutnya kalau membahayakan diri saya.
A lot of people claim paranormal sightings in the basement, including this one of a lady in a white dress. It sounded a bit like Bernard's ghost. Why would the basement give rise to all these ghosts? Could the answer lie in the building's past? There was only one way to find out.
I can't shoot here? Why? All right, this...
Lawang Sewu, a historical building that many claimed was haunted.
Hey, Letitia, thanks for meeting me out.
I had come here to Indonesia to investigate the truth behind it. I met up with Leticia, my local fixer, but my requests for filming permission were denied. I was hoping a visit from the two of us might change their mind.
I'm shooting a piece on Lawang Sewu.
Is this for personal or
for broadcast? What is she saying?
She said that we're not allowed to take any documentation if it's for broadcast.
I can't shoot here? Why?
Despite our persistence, they refused.
We can't shoot.
No.
Maybe they feared we were just thrill seekers looking for ghosts.
Yeah, that woman was waiting for me.
Yeah, sorry about this.
All right, you tried.
Whatever their reason, it wouldn't stop me. There were ways into the truth behind Lawang Sewu, even from the outside.
All right, I've arrived here at Lawang Sewu, and right off the bat, they wouldn't even let me in. But I'm going to keep looking around, I'm going to keep exploring, and I'm going to talk to some people and try and find out what this building is all about. I do know there is a train sitting right in the front, so something to do with that.
If the guards wouldn't let me in, I would go to the guides to find out if ghostly encounters, like the woman in white haunting the basement, was a familiar occurrence among them.
Hey, you guys work at Lawang Sewu?
Yeah,
Lawang Sewu? Maybe you can tell me, what is this place? What is this building?
Administration train.
Train?
Yeah.
Train administration.
Yeah, train administration from the Dutch.
From the Dutch?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dutch Railways then. Hold on 1 second, I have a handy translator.
Yeah.
Hello, Letitia?
Hi, RJ. So what can I do for you?
I'm speaking to some gentlemen in front of Lawang Sewu. I'm hoping they might have some answers for me. Could you ask them if they've heard of any ghost sightings or ghost stories?
Ini ada pernah ada cerita-cerita tentang hantu apa atau penampakan?
Ya, ada tetapi jarang ya. Itu bagi orang-orang yang bisa melihat aja, yang bisa melihat dengan jelas. Gitu.
I actually came here because of stories that I've heard, specifically from someone else who is a guide like you guys. Any stories of your own? Any personal stories?
Kalau saya pernah itu dulu waktu tahun 2006 ya, malah nggak melihat lagi, malah sampai dikejar-kejar sama genderuwo yang di ruangan bawah tanah itu dulu.
You're describing this as a black hairy what? What did you see?
Laki-laki tinggi besar berbulu panjang, Pak.
Have you heard of any stories about a woman?
Ya.
Ya. Belanda pernah ada ya.
Ya, cewek dengan berbaju rok ya Pak, yang berbaju rok panjang di lantai 1.
All right, so I'm in the right place then, basically.
I could see why Lawang Sewu's owners would have been concerned about granting me access. Another guy with a camera spreading more rumors about fake hauntings. It was as if everyone had their own ghost stories to tell about this place. The building was like some kind of theater of the absurd. And if there was one person that could shed some light on such local folklore, it would be Sujiwo Tejo, a renowned performance artist.
Lelepa, panganali iwa entah. Lalapani prabangu ya tak panganding kulon noma. Apa jentit lululu, tak panganding kulon noma.
Sujiwo, could you tell me a little bit about this art form?
Yes, there is wayang kulit, di kanan itu white side, di kiri itu dark side, mewakili ghost, hantu-hantu, dan lain sebagainya. And why we name it wayang? Because wayang means bayangan. Wayang means shadow.
Shadow?
Shadow. Sebetulnya karakter dia sama dia bukan karakter yang terpisah. Artinya semua ini, yang positif maupun negatif, potensial ada di dalam satu orang.
How does wayang kulit illustrate the Javanese belief in spirits?
Wayang menyampaikan sesuatu yang tidak terlihat, yang tidak sehari-hari. Yang tidak sehari-hari itu antara lain ada hantu-hantu itu. Kita memang dipengaruhi oleh Islam, sangat kuat Muslim. Nah, hal gaib itu Tuhan sama malaikat, tetapi orang Jawa mengartikan juga bahwa hantu-hantu termasuk hal yang gaib.
Good versus evil, darkness and light. The contrast made for a compelling form of theater. It seemed ghosts equaled good entertainment in Indonesia. I turned my attention back to Lawang Sewu's ghost stories. More than mere entertainment. My question, could something about the building's Dutch origins provide inspiration for these unsettled spirits?
Yeah,
From the Dutch?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dutch railways then.
One man's ghost story was about a Dutch lady, which was no surprise given that the building was built by the Dutch.
Nama saya.
My name is Nurianto, and I teach at Semarang University in the law faculty.
Saya suka
I like the spiritual world.
hal-hal spiritual.
I think in Lawang Sewu, there are many invisible creatures. So many.
Saya
There was this one time, I was at Lawang Sewu,
di Lawang Sewu.
and I met a beautiful spiritual figure.
Sosok
Her name was Van Helen.
Van Helen. Jadi saya ketemu Van Helen.
So the first time I saw her, she was sitting alone, quietly, drowning in her tears. She was on the balcony on the second floor. She was sitting on her rocking chair, sobbing.
Sambil meneteskan air mata.
I asked her once, twice, again and again, but she kept sobbing.
Meneteskan air mata.
She took her time, but finally started to talk and told me her story. Based on her stories, she was going to be killed and raped while both her parents were no longer around. Committing suicide was a better option than being subjected to torture. For me, Van Helen is a kind figure. I pity her. I really pity her.
According to Nurianto, this Dutch phantom was desperate and fearful. Could some tragedy have befallen this place? This town? These people? To get to the answer, I needed to look into the building's long colonial heritage. The Dutch first came to Indonesia in the 16th century. They would more or less control the country for some 300 plus years. When they built their first railway in Indonesia in the 1860s, it was from Semarang to another city in central Java. Some 40 years later, Lawang Sewu became the hub of the Dutch rail system. But what were these trains passing through Semarang and Lawang Sewu carrying that was so important? Joko, a local transport expert, had the details.
So the trains that went on these tracks, what would they be carrying?
Jadi yang diangkut itu memang pada saat itu membangun itulah barang. Selain kebutuhan untuk militer, jadi para serdadu, tapi lebih diutamakan karena dia perusahaan swasta, memang harus untung adalah mengangkut barang. Barang yang diangkut itu kayu-kayu jati, kemudian produk pangan seperti gula. Ada juga dulu masih banyak tembakau di Jawa yang dibawa ke Eropa. Karena itu masih kepentingan kekuasaan Belanda yang lebih besar.
Who was it physically that built the railroad? Who were the laborers? What did they go through? How many were there?
Jadi maksudnya Pak, siapa yang dan ada berapa banyak kira-kira?
Ya, pada saat itu memang masih sistem rodi. Jadi mereka sebenarnya tidak dibayar membangun jaringan jalan rel. Jadi sepertinya kalau di tingkat desa itu ada suatu pemaksaan untuk memerintahkan sejumlah orang untuk wajib ikut membangun jaringan jalan.
It seemed like life for many local Javanese under Dutch rule was less than ideal. The roadie system that Joko talked about was bonded labor. You work hard, you work for free to fill someone else's bank accounts. The Dutch rail system was the reason their Indonesian empire became ever more powerful. Highly desired commodities came from inland plantations to Semarang, a coastal port, and were shipped off to meet growing demand the world over. The faster things moved, the quicker they could cash their checks. And as profits grew, so did the Indonesians' resentment against their colonial rulers.
I'm at a local archive, and I came across some footage that was obviously shot by the Dutch to showcase their extremely comprehensive railway network. The interesting thing is the footage shows almost as an afterthought the conditions and the harsh realities of the laborers who built that railway system. All locals, all Indonesians, all working by hand to put together this amazingly vast financial machinery. The film clearly illustrated how important Lawang Sewu was as a hub for cash crops arriving from Java's plantations, and that Dutch Indonesia was, for a time, a colonial paradise for its rulers. Lawang Sewu, an imposing structure in the center of Semarang. In the 1900s, it would have stood as a symbol of Dutch power and profits. The ruins of Dutch Indonesia were still evident. Many structures just shells of their former selves, abandoned, left to rot. Old town of Semarang, clearly a sense of Dutch architecture, Dutch colonial presence. The other thing that's obvious, nothing here is lovingly preserved. It makes one wonder under what circumstances the Dutch Empire here fell. I was drawn to Indonesia by all these ghost stories surrounding an old Dutch railway building called Lawang Sewu. Many believe the basement to be the epicenter of paranormal activity. But the truth is, for me, this building was haunted not by ghosts, but by its past. War was coming to Lawang Sewu and the people of Semarang. The World War changed everything. The Japanese attacked, ruthlessly knocking Indonesia's Dutch masters off their thrones. The assault was swift. In less than 2 weeks, the Japanese had control of all of Java. What did the new overlords do? What happened to the Dutch? I got as close as I could to the Dutch who experienced the downfall. Anna, the granddaughter of a Dutchman who had lived through it all. So what was life like for your family during the colonial period?
My father was born here, and for him, he lived here until he was 8 years old. It was paradise. It was paradise. It was free, green, always warm, good food, Yeah, that's what he remembers.
So when did things start to change?
Very sudden. He remembers that he was very happy living, happy life, until I think it was December 41, Japanese invasion. So that was when his father was mobilized. So he was taken away, he had to work for the Japanese. And 4 years later, 45, they got the letter and the announcement that he died at the Burma Railway. So yeah, he lost his father. My father luckily was not interned in the camp, but they had to hide away.
The internment camps. Could you tell me what you do know about them?
It was really, really bad.
The Japanese rounded up some 130,000 Dutch nationals and forced them into internment camps, where many suffered from starvation and disease. Thousands died.
It was the world turned around, yeah? So it was very ironic that people, the Europeans and the Eurasians who had a high position in the colonial community here, had the lowest position in the internal camps. Outward Dutch independence. I mean, it's very...
The Dutch went from living like kings in a Southeast Asian paradise to being rounded up and caged like farm animals. They were given identification cards. Lives were marked that for many soon would be over. There were hundreds of Dutch graves here. The scale of the tragedy was overwhelming.
All right, I'm in the Dutch cemetery here in Semarang, and if you look behind me, you can kind of get a sense of just the sheer scale of how many people passed away here. And the most important thing to note is that almost everyone in this graveyard passed away between the years of 1944 and 45, which means most of the people here passed away during the Japanese occupation in Japanese internment camps.
The party was over for the Dutch. The Japanese took over everything, including key installations like Lawang Sewu. And once again, the locals were subjugated. Yongki Teo, a local historian, born and raised in Semarang, knew what happened at the time.
How exactly did the Indonesians react to the Japanese armies?
At that time, the Indonesians were happy. They thought that the conditions would be better compared to how it was under the Dutch.
In a further twist of irony for the Dutch, the Indonesians actually welcomed the new rulers. But Yongki said the euphoria didn't last long. This was Indonesia on Japanese terms. They were more ruthless than the Dutch. In Semarang, the Japanese took over Dutch infrastructure. And like the Dutch before them, they controlled the railways from Lawang Sewu. But I'd heard rumors that the Japanese used the basement of Lawang Sewu to imprison and torture. I wondered if there was any truth to this, and if that was why some believed it to be haunted. I asked Yongki how the Japanese used Lawang Sewu.
Many people talk about the basement of the building, that it has some special chambers. In fact, they were used for prisoners during the Dutch colonial era. So the chambers existed since the Dutch period. And then, during the Japanese era, they were also used as torture chambers for captured insurgents. They have always been there, but how they were used became worse and more cruel during the Japanese rule.
I was a little surprised that according to Yongki, the rumors about the basement were true. That would help explain how it got its reputation amongst local ghost hunters.
Habis itu yang terakhir yaitu rambutnya gondrong, pakai baju putih, panjang, mukanya tapi nggak begitu jelas. Saya takutnya kalau membahayakan diri saya.
I didn't have access to the building's basement myself, so I headed for the Central Archives looking for any evidence that could validate what Yonki told me about the prisons. But as it turned out, the building had been recently renovated to preserve its heritage. I tracked down Albertus Criswandono, an architect involved with the project.
There are rumors that the basement was used as a prison of sorts. Do you think there's any truth to that?
I think the space of the basement used for the prison because it's possible. And maybe
Criswandono told me that during the Japanese occupation, things were chaotic and clashes broke out around Lawang Sewu. So he too believed the Japanese imprisoned the insurgents in the basement.
Surround Lawang Sewu. At the time, the situation is very difficult, and many people, the Dutch people or Indonesian people, combat in surround Lawang Sewu, and the Japanese people catch every man who fight and makes the space for the prison.
Mystery solved. I was finally convinced that the Lawang Sewu basement had been used by the Japanese as a prison. But Criswandono got me curious. He mentioned what sounded like a major battle. And there it was. An all-out war between the local Indonesians and the well-armed Japanese forces took place over 5 days in the city, in the shadow of Lawang Sewu. 2,000 Indonesians vanquished. Here's what I found odd. The violence took place in October of 1945, a whole month after the Japanese had already surrendered to the Allied forces. Why would there be a bloody battle in Semarang when the war was already over? Lawang Sewu, a building with a rich and storied past. I came here to investigate rumors that it was haunted. To me, those stories of ghosts were just that, fantasies. What I was really after was the truth about what happened in its past. I was convinced that the basement was used as prison cells, but then another mystery emerged, a battle that left thousands dead. What I didn't know was why it took place after the war had ended. Then I discovered that the seeds of conflict were sown when bands of young Indonesian fighters demanded the handover of arms from the Japanese armies. The Japanese in Semarang refused. Things quickly escalated.
Sehingga akhirnya pada satu kejadian di mana
Finally, there was one incident where some Indonesians in Semarang took over the prisons and took the Japanese as hostages.
Untuk menguasai mereka dan membuat sandera dari para tahanan itu. Ya, jadi sesudah tentara Jepang yang ada di Kalibata.
After the Japanese soldiers were put in Bulu prison, Major Kido got news that they were brutally killed there.
Bahwa ada satu info bahwa tentara Jepang itu yang berada di penjara Bulu dibunuh secara kejam.
Yonki went on to tell me that the killing of more than 100 Japanese men held in a nearby prison triggered Major Kido and his men to go on the offensive. He could have just given up his arms and avoided it all.
So why didn't Major Kido just give up the weapons?
Ya, karena dia
He wanted to listen to his superior officer in Jakarta.
kepada atasannya yang berada di Jakarta.
Kido was asked to surrender his weapons to the Allied forces, not to anyone else. So as a soldier, he wanted to respect the military code and follow instructions.
Whatever the reasons, for the people of Semarang, it was a bitter end. Incredibly, I managed to track down one survivor.
So I've been in Semarang and I've been trying to find out a little bit about the history of Lawang Sewu. And it's my understanding that you served during the 5-day war.
Sekarang saya jadi veteran, itu sekarang menjadi ketua paguyuban pertempuran Mahali, pensiunan polisi.
So when fighting broke out, what was the first thing that you did?
Lah itu kemudian saya tanya, siapa yang mau turut perang dengan Jepang? Aku ngaco, saya mau turut perang gitu. Karena saya masih muda dan bertanggung jawab, karena saya polisi. Adanya hanya merdeka atau mati waktu itu.
What kind of weapons did you have? How were you defending yourself?
Kita karena polisi senjatanya lengkap. Hanya pemuda itu yang pakai bambu runcing.
How many of his fellow special forces and Indonesian youth died during the 5-day battle?
Itu kira-kira ada 1,000.
The Indonesians fought hard, and when it was over, thousands had died. The Allied forces arrived and took control. In the end, the Indonesians once again were under Dutch rule.
Kemudian bongsone ini Londo masuk di situ Arab jajah. Nah, ceritanya gitu.
Indonesians like Sudiono paid a heavy price for that freedom. Outside Lawang Sewu is a pillar dedicated to the young men who died in the war against the Japanese.
Throughout my time here in Semarang, as I've gotten around and met people and gotten their stories about what happened at Lawang Sewu, appropriately enough, it seemed like I was never more than a block away from the place. So I come back here to visit the war memorial right in front of it. The weird thing is, if you look at this particular memorial, you see the faces of the people depicted and you realize you can't quite tell the difference between who is the victim and who is the aggressor. And that's actually what happens in war. It doesn't matter who you are because you'll get swept away by it. It's out of your control, and I think that's really the story behind the truth about what happened at Lawang Sewu.
My investigation began with a question. Why did so many people believe Lawang Sewu was haunted? What really happened there? That question led me to something far more epic, a tale of true horrors. A story of a colonial conquest in Java, a people subjugated, the mystery of a fierce battle that left thousands dead. For the Indonesians, it was the beginning of their struggle for independence, and it would be some time yet before they could realize that dream. Indonesia has more than 17,000 islands. And people who have strong beliefs in gods, ghosts, and devils. In its cities and villages, the magical, the mystical, the terrifying. Publicity about hauntings is commonplace. Shaman known as Dukun become major celebrities. For many, the paranormal is one more aspect of daily life. Indonesia's president has even spoken out about those who believe in black magic.
Ini musim pemilu, musim pemilihan presiden dan wakil presiden. Ini banyak yang menggunakan ilmu sihir. Betul, saya merasakan dengan keluarga. Luar biasa. Ya, iya, macam-macam yang digunakan.
I believe that what's called a haunted place often hides a historical truth waiting to be uncovered. I came to investigate one particular building here, believed by many to contain an unusual amount of paranormal activity.
Saya mulai bekerja sebagai...
I started working as a tour guide at Lawang Sewu in 2007.
Tempat saya bekerja...
Lawang Sewu is an old building,
gedung yang tua,
believed to be a haunted building with many ghosts inside. It was night, around 11 p.m.
jam 11.
I was escorting 5 university students. They took photographs, asked me about hauntings here. My answer was always, I hadn't seen such things. I took them to the stairs. They went up to the second floor, to the dark corridor.
Lorong yang gelap sekali.
They started to shoot and asked me to move away.
Kemudian kita...
Then we started to climb the stairs to the attic. I was born in Java, so I understand Javanese culture.
Menurut kepercayaan orang Jawa.
And based on Javanese beliefs, there are lots of spirits in Lawang Sewu because of its past.
Menyerupai wujud dari kejadian di masa lalu.
I don't believe in ghosts. But my question was, could something real have happened here at Lawang Sewu to give rise to all these haunting stories? To find out, I would have to dig into the building's past. What was it for? Did anyone live here?
I came to Semarang because of all the stories here, and a lot of them center around this place called Lawang Sewu. Now, the name translates in Javanese to 1,000 doors, and the stories are as evocative. The real question is, what is it about this building and what's hidden in its history that so many stories would come from one place? And that's what I'm going to find out.
Central Java's capital, Semarang. A sprawling port city with origins dating back more than 1,000 years. And Lawang Sewu, the building filled with storied phantoms, was right in the heart.
They were looking around. I moved to the right side of the attic.
Ruang etik sebelah kanan.
Without realizing that they didn't follow me. Suddenly I felt something pass by the edge of the stairs. I noticed it was a lady walking towards me. It must have been one of the guests. I thought to myself, why isn't the guide leading the guest?
Tamunya yang di depan, bukan guide-nya.
I went blank. Suddenly, my body felt very cold. I couldn't think at that time. I could only see the long hair and the face torn full of blood.
Berdarah-darah, mungkin seperti tercapik-capik mukanya.
She came closer and closer. I looked at the floor and found that her feet weren't touching the floor.
Menginjak lantai.
That's when I realized that this is a ghost. I was very scared. I'm actually not a brave person. It was my turn to escort the guests.
Nomor saya untuk mengantar.
There were 5 university students.
5 mahasiswa.
We went to the attic.
Ruang etik.
When I looked down, her feet weren't touching the floor.
I love stories like this. Ghost stories.
A lot of torture places, a lot of people die there.
We heard a voice
About places we're not supposed to go. We're warned not to go. But I'm no ghost hunter. The fear, the superstition, always hides a bigger story. A true story. What really happened here? And if you knew, would you still go there?